Good afternoon, America. Good afternoon, New York. Not sure why I'm still in this state. Not sure why you're still in this state. Oh, we got a little more bumper music. I like it.
My bad.
Good afternoon, Rochester. Welcome to the Got Freedom Podcast. Chad Hummel is your host here. And as always, I have to start by apologizing for not coming to talk to you every week. My great producer, Austin, he misses me when I don't come in. Don't you, Austin?
I do. I just sit here, the whole time
with your thumbs
with
up?
my thumb up, just waiting for you to come in for an hour.
I'm busy. Business is booming. I hate to even say it like that because, unfortunately right now people are suffering. There's a lot of people suffering in New York, in Rochester, because of the ridiculous governmental mandates that aren't laws, but people are essentially being coerced into doing things that they don't want to do, that they don't have to do. And, so people are in need of legal advice, and I've been pretty busy doing that, trying to help people out. So I apologize that sometimes I miss my 4:00 podcast on Tuesdays, but I'm here today. So we're going to try to cover a lot of information here in the next hour, and maybe it'll go a little bit longer, but we're going to try to cover as much information as we can. First, housekeeping details. Please make sure that you go to the We the People Podcast Network, the fan page on Facebook, and click like and become a member of our fan book page on Facebook. That way you can get all of the live updates of all of our podcasts. I believe you can also subscribe on our YouTube channel, the We the People Podcast Network. Go to YouTube and search it, and then you can download our shows and watch them wherever you watch your podcasts. So without further ado, a couple of the topics that I wanted to cover today here is, of course, we've seen it all in the news. I want to break it down a little bit, though. Perhaps give you a different perspective than maybe you're hearing in the so-called mainstream media. But of course, there's what's going on down at the border. Some people like to call it migration. Some people like to call it refugees, things like that. Let's just call it what it is. It is illegal border crossings. That's what's going on down in Texas right now. Illegal border crossings, and we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the wonderful press secretary for your wonderful president, Joseph. What's his middle name? Robinette.
Who?
Yeah, Joe Biden.
Oh yes, of course.
Isn't his middle name Robinette or
it
something?
It is something like that. I totally forgot about that. But
it's like some slave name or something I heard, which wouldn't shock anyone. But anyway, so we'll talk about our wonderful president, Joseph Robinette Biden, his press secretary, Jen Psaki, some of the comments, some of the statements that she's made recently, pretty bizarre stuff. But you shouldn't be surprised if you've been paying attention at all to the political landscape, to the economic landscape, to the social landscape in America in the past, even 5 years, 10 years. Go back to 2008 when Obama was elected. Go back to the Clinton years. If you've paid attention at all, I didn't before that, so that's about as far back as I can go. But if you paid attention at all, and if you listened to people that actually know what they're talking about when it comes to just basic level college course 101 type of economics and political science, you would have seen all of this coming. You would have seen everything that's playing out right now coming, but your head was buried so far up some Democrat politician's ass that you didn't quite pay attention. So now you are going to suffer the consequences. You are suffering the consequences. But that's okay. The rest of us will continue to stand up and fight for your rights. Then, of course, we have, so I called, what did I call Governor Cuomo? King Andy, King Asshole, the Emperor. What do we call this absolutely despicable, wicked witch of every direction, the east, the west, the north, the south? What do we call this woman, Kathy Hochul? I think we have to call her God now. or Jesus.
The Apostle Hochul.
Apostle Hochul. There you go.
Yeah.
There you
That
go.
rolls
Perfect.
almost off the tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great job, Austin. Let me write that down so I don't forget. So when we get back to that topic, Apostle Hochul. All right. Yeah. Jesus went and found her. She was over at the Genesee River. I think she was fishing. And I think Jesus asked her to drop everything and come follow him. So that's what she's doing. And then let me I would be remiss not to also mention today, we'll get into it in detail a little bit, but I had the opportunity to go out to the U of R yesterday where there was, I believe, either the 8th or 9th Monday in a row, hundreds of people gathered in support of the healthcare industry workers who essentially were fired yesterday. And we'll get into those details. Again, the left always lies. The left always tells you one thing and they're doing the opposite. So one of the details that we'll get into on that topic is the narrative that these individuals are being put on something called unpaid leave. And of course, that's just, as everything that comes out of the left's mouth, one big lie. All right. But before we get into the depressing topics of politics and the communist state that we're heading towards, I do want to give a wonderful shout out to my beautiful 16-year-old daughter, Taylor. She went and took her permit test today, her driving permit test today. And I just received a text about 10 minutes ago from my daughter, Taylor, letting me know that she passed her test. So,
hey, congrats.
Yeah. So congratulations to Taylor. Hopefully you're not watching or listening because I'll probably use some inappropriate language today, like I always do. But nonetheless, I know there are other friends and family members listening. So I'm providing you that information as well. So congratulations to my beautiful, beautiful daughter, Taylor, on passing your driving permit exam today. And maybe we'll even go out and do some driving tonight. All right. So let's where do we want to start? Let's start with some Jen Psaki videos here. Let's play that video, Austin, and we'll just start it at the beginning and we'll do that little game of, I'll stop the video every 6 seconds and talk for 30. And then before we get halfway through the video, the show will be over segment. Let's do that segment right now.
Yeah, it sounds like a good time. Here we go.
There's not disagreement about the fundamentals of what we're trying to achieve.
Stop there.
Not even 6 seconds, 5 seconds.
All right, the show's over because I'm just going to go on that. I mean, honestly, I could do, if I had the time, I would do a 3-hour show every day, and I could spend 3 hours breaking down this 1-minute clip. Just that statement that she just made there. Hit play again. Rewind and hit play again.
There is agreement that we need to.
All right. There's
not disagreement about the fundamentals of what we're trying to achieve.
There is agreement. There is no disagreement. Okay. So she had to say the same thing twice in reverse. She had to first declare that there's agreement. Well, there's over 330 million Americans in the United States, plus the tens of thousands of illegals that her boss lets in every single day. So
they're probably the ones bringing the disagreement. There was 330 million all in agreement, and then now there's like 10,000 naysayers.
Gotcha.
Just let in.
Gotcha. I see how that works.
Yeah.
So anytime somebody like Jen Psaki or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi, I mean, you name it, right? Go down the laundry list of left-wing nut jobs that are running our government. And they always begin with this bogus claim of there is universal agreement, or they say there is no disagreement, or like in this case, Jen Psaki declares both back to back. She declares there is universal agreement and there is no disagreement at all. So right there, anytime you hear that phrase come out of one of these leftists' mouth, I can guarantee you that what you're about to hear is propaganda. That is their precursor. That's part of their training. They are trained to say to preface anything they're about to say with there is agreement. If there's agreement, why don't you just lay out whatever the facts are and let reasonable, common sense, intelligent Americans decide for themselves whether or not they agree? Why cannot I decide whether the next 9 minutes of your ridiculous press statement, let me decide whether I am in agreement or not? Let the other 330 million Americans decide whether they are in agreement or not. Why must you declare before you've said anything that we're all in agreement? Because here comes the propaganda. Let's go on.
And there is agreement that we need to address the climate crisis, that we need to cut costs for childcare.
Stop there. Climate crisis, right? What did I tell you? You knew the holy grail of the propaganda. One of the rails of the holy grail of the propaganda was coming first. Climate crisis. I'm not even going to bother with the whole climate crisis nonsense because again, that's a 4-hour discussion.
Because we're all in agreement.
Yeah, because exactly. Yeah, why bother? We're all in agreement. Good point. So, but then she goes on to say, and I probably cut it off a little too short there, but she goes on to immediately say things like cutting the costs of college and childcare. Let's replay that little segment there and get to those two costs.
The climate crisis, that we need to cut costs for childcare, for college, that we need to make it easier for women to rejoin the workforce. We need to rebuild and modernize our infrastructure.
All right, stop there, please. Let me just jot down a couple notes here so I don't make you replay that video clip 17 more times, Austin. Women rejoin the workforce. Oh, gosh, I can't wait to get to that in a second. But let me back up and talk about the cutting the costs of college and childcare. Man, it's going to take some time to unpack that statement. So let me try to do the best I can here. First and foremost, the federal government, let alone the state government, let alone a county government, let alone a town government, let alone your neighbor that lives next door to you, has zero authority or control, nor should they have any economic interest in your childcare costs, for example. Childcare is largely a private business, right? Drive around town. There are private childcare agencies all over town. There's a place called Doodlebugs, right? Everyone's heard of Doodlebugs, haven't they? There are hundreds, if not thousands, of your neighbors in town that run private daycares out of their own home. And they charge you a price that you and them negotiate, and they provide you a service. That's called a free market enterprise. So how is Jen Psaki, the agent of Joseph Robinette Biden, at the federal government, at the highest level of our government, how is that individual, Joseph Biden, going to control or cut the costs of daycare? You have to listen to what they say and then analyze what it is that they're trying to impart. What she is trying to impart upon you is the idea that somehow she can control, or the federal government can control, that cost. Well, maybe they can. They actually can, right? They can come to your home if you're a private daycare provider who is trying to provide for your family, right? So again, let's just use basic examples because it's the rhetoric and the propaganda that comes out of her mouth, okay, at the federal level, at a White House press secretary meeting, rhetoric and propaganda. And then there's reality. The reality is that Mary Smith at 123 Smith Street has a private daycare. And she advertises on Craigslist or wherever she advertises that she's going to provide a daycare service to whoever needs it. So you call her and you say, I have 2 children Their ages are 7 and 5, and I need daycare 5 days a week, and I need it for 4 hours a day. And she says, okay, that will be $150 per child for each day. Or I'm sorry, for the week. So $300 a week. And you say, $300, that's a little steep. Will you do it for $250? She says, well, $250 is a little low. How about $275? Deal. Two private individuals in a free society negotiate a price that both can live with. They both deem it fair, and they agree to that number. But then Jen Psaki comes along and says, we're going to cut the cost of daycare. Now, the party on the left, right, the parent who just negotiated that price of $275 and thought that was a fair price, she says, oh, wow, this is awesome. Jen Psaki is going to make this daycare cost go lower. So what's Jen Psaki going to do? Is Joe Biden going to send a letter to the private daycare provider demanding? Is it going to be a mandate? Is it going to be an executive order? What is it going to be? Is it going to be a federal agent or a federal officer that comes to this person's home and says, you're charging too much for daycare. $250 is too much. Lower it to $150. There. Now Jen Psaki can be taken at her word. Jen Psaki, on behalf of President Biden, just cut the cost of daycare. He mandated it. Executive order. Done. He accomplished his goal. That's what you voted for, right? That's why you elected Joseph Biden, because you did not have your own ability to negotiate the price for daycare or for college. So you needed Joseph Biden to do it for you. But guess what Joseph Biden just did? He also just took money out of the pocket of one of your neighbors. What good does that do for the economy? That's $150 less a week that your neighbor now has to spend. And in a free market society, the transfer of wealth is supposed to occur through negotiation and free market techniques. The transfer of wealth is not supposed to occur through government mandates and dictates. Because in order to do that, you have to succumb to your freedoms. You have to relinquish your freedoms. The daycare provider has to relinquish her freedom to negotiate how much money she can make in a year. And you, who needs the daycare service, you're relinquishing your freedom to negotiate an even lower price, perhaps. Maybe you could have gotten it even lower than $150 a week. But you decided that the $275 number was fair. Let's play that clip one last time and move on.
The climate crisis, that we need to cut costs for childcare, for college, that we need to make it easier for women to rejoin the workforce. We need to rebuild and modernize our infrastructure. So there's agreement on that. There's a basic.
Let's stop there. And then she bookends it with there's agreement again. So we started with there's agreement. She's going to cut daycare costs, and she ends with there's agreement.
Well, I wouldn't have known about the agreement if she didn't tell me 3 times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, you would have found out about it when you got your executive order that said that you're in agreement with $150 a week for daycare.
Yeah, the agreement order.
That's right, the agreement order. So it's just preposterous because, again, it's all just a bunch of rhetoric, and none of it ever translates to the real life that you and I all live. In our day-to-day lives that we all live, we want to be free to negotiate what the costs of goods and services are. And if we don't want it that way, and we want it her way, or Joseph Biden's way, or Kamala Harris's way, that's fine. But you have to recognize that if you are going to have it that way, you are doing it under the realm of whatever you want to call it. If you like the term democratic socialism, if that makes you feel better about the impending communism that is looming over our heads right now, if it makes you feel better to call it democratic socialism, then so be it. Call it what you want, but it is what it is. You aren't free. That's what it is. You aren't free. And we don't like that, right? Because this is the Got Freedom podcast. We like freedom around here. So the rejoin the workforce, right? I love the phrase, the government likes to break your legs and then offer you the crutches. So suffice it to say, the women that need to rejoin the workforce that she's referring to are the same women that, because of the ridiculous, oppressive COVID mandates, the closures, right? The shutdowns, the lockdowns, the business regulation that the government foisted upon our family homes over the past 18 months and beyond now is the very reason why women in large measures have been at home. And now, according to Jen Psaki, she needs to put on her superhero cape and put in some regulations or some policies that is going to allow these women to come back into the workforce. How about the government just get the hell out of the way, right? I mean, it's the age-old saying. If the government would just get out of the way and stay out of the way, then free people will navigate, right? I mean, it's human nature that it's in our best interest to work collectively together within an organized society. And we will generally do that. Of course, there's going to be hiccups along the way. Not everybody's perfect. Not everybody's honest. Honest people make mistakes, and evil people do good things sometimes. But in a perfect world, which is what democratic socialism likes to think that we live in, yes, in a perfect world, in a utopia, right, we wouldn't have any reason for a government. Government certainly has its role in our society, okay? But government is not here to regulate our every single move. Government is not here to break our legs, right? Institute policies that cause women to leave their jobs, go home and provide for their families. And then the government decides, oh, okay, now we're going to, even though we hurt you, even though we put in policies, we put regulations in place that caused you to lose your job and go home. Oh, don't worry, we're here to rescue you now. You see how that works? The government always wants to be involved. They want to be on both sides of it at all times. Just get out of the way. Let's keep going.
Discussion that needs to happen or is ongoing. We're right in the weeds of it now.
Whoa, what? Did she say she's in the weeds, Austin?
Oh my God.
Only I get to go into the weeds.
Yeah, that's Chad's thing.
I want a letter sent to her immediately. Cease and desist. Jen Psaki, you will cease and desist getting into the weeds.
Get out of the weeds, Jen Psaki.
I want a picture. Can we reach out? You're my producer, right? Can we reach out to Jen Psaki and see if next Tuesday, is that what today is, Tuesday?
It is Tuesday.
Next Tuesday at 4:00 on the Got Freedom podcast, I want to see if we can get a picture of myself and Jen Psaki in the weeds together at 530 Titus Avenue. You think we can do that, Austin?
I'll do what I can. I'll pull all my strings.
All right, pull your strings. I have a feeling I'm going to be standing there pulling myself without her.
It happens.
All right, let's leave that one alone. I can't believe that Jen Psaki just stole my line and she's trying to infiltrate the Got Freedom podcast.
I tell you,
that's unacceptable.
She's sneaky like that.
My lawyers will be on this. They will send the White House a cease and desist letter. All right, let's go on.
All right.
The discussion that needs to happen or is ongoing. We're right in the weeds of it now on what the size of the package looks like. But I will
the size of the package,
and we've done this a little bit over the past couple of days. But
I'm sorry. I have a picture of me being in the weeds, but I don't. At least I hope that here on the Got Freedom podcast we don't have a picture of this. No, all right, never mind. Let's go on.
Jen Psaki's package.
Yes, let's go on.
Needs to happen or is ongoing. We're right in the weeds of it now on what the size of the package looks like. But I will also note, and we've done this a little bit over the past couple of days, but that this package, the reconciliation package, would cost $0. So what I'm saying, what is
she doing with her hands?
Is that there needs to be agreement on the different components. There's
whoa! I thought there was agreement. She told us 17 times in the last 47 seconds of this clip that there was agreement. There is agreement. There is agreement. Now she just says there needs to be agreement as she's doing like this voodoo twisted. I don't know what she's doing with her hands where it's like, isn't that what, I think that's what Aaron Rodgers does when he's calling an audible.
Yeah.
Doesn't he?
The agreement fingers.
The agreement. Oh, that. I mean, it's everybody getting together.
Yeah, right.
There
it is. Yeah.
I get it. All right, let's go on. It's clown.
On the goals. And then there needs to be agreement on what the revenue pay-fors are. There's not.
Shocking. The most shocking thing to me, though, is that she tries to pretend that she can be like me and get in the weeds. Yeah. There's only one guy, Austin. There's only one guy that's allowed to get into the weeds, and that's me on the Got Freedom podcast every Tuesday at 4 p.m. All right. So we're going to move on from that debacle of the federal government trying to tell you through its rhetoric that it can control your life and make your life better. Let's go over to, as my wonderful producer Austin so aptly coined today, let's hear from Apostle Hummel, our governor. We're missing audio, it looks like. I love that.
Doctors, the researchers.
He made
them come up with a vaccine that is from God to us. I prayed a lot to God during this time. And you know what? God did answer our prayers. He made the smartest men and women, the scientists, the doctors, the researchers. He made them come up with a vaccine that is from God to us.
Let's stop
and
there.
We must.
All right. Well, you know, I would expect a lot more from such a woke leftist that Apostle Hummel is. In the early part of that clip, she mentioned that God made the men and the women. Now, doesn't a woke leftist like her know that there's more than just men and women? In fact, Fairport, the Fairport Central School District, apparently they're more woke than Kathy Hochul. Can we just jump over to another clip real quick, Austin?
Are you talking about the all-gender bathroom?
Let's zoom in on that. What do we have here, Kathy Hochul? This is at, I believe, forgive me if I get the actual school wrong, but I'm confident, I'm positive that this is in the Fairport Central School District, which is here in Monroe County in Rochester, New York. I believe this is at the Martha Brown Middle School in Fairport. They have what's now been designated an all-gender bathroom. And you know damn well they're not referring to just men and women, right? There's transgender and cisgender and all gender and I don't even know. There's like 17 different genders now. But let's scroll down. Look at the mural on the wall behind it. What in the hell does that have to do with using a freaking bathroom? What the hell does that have to do with sitting down or standing up? What does that have to do with when I walk into a men's room and there's 3 urinals, I'm not supposed to pick the one in the middle? That's just an inside joke for guys. I mean, it's out of control. So we have Apostle Hummel, who's a woke leftist, and she's narrowing and limiting the gender talk to just men and women. I bet there's going to be a lot of leftists that are going to be angry with her. Let's jump back to Apostle Hummel here.
I prayed a lot to God during this time.
Yeah, I bet you did.
And you know what? God did answer our prayers. He made the smartest men and women, the scientists, the doctors, the researchers. He made them come up with a vaccine that is from God to us. And we must say, thank you, God. Thank you.
Thank you, God.
I wear my vaccinated necklace all the time to say I'm vaccinated.
Let's stop there. Thank you, God, for bringing us this vaccine in what, like 4 days, I think they approved it. The FDA was able to get a vaccine through in 4 days. I mean, you can't watch TV at night between the 9 and 10 o'clock hour without seeing 400 commercials from law firms across the country letting you know that if your arm fell off because you took drug so-and-so from Merck or took drug so-and-so from Johnson & Johnson, that it was probably caused by, some medicine that they spent 10 years researching and approving. Yet we're to take this vaccine that, according to Apostle Hummel, it was delivered to us from God in under a year. And now she wears her necklace that says vaxxed on it. I mean, I don't even know what to say. This is the propaganda, the level of propaganda that is being spewed here by, I don't know how else to say it other than an evil, sick, twisted witch. I mean, she stands there before this black screen behind her, or this black curtain behind her, and she's dressed all in black, and she's proud to have her "I've been vaxxed" necklace around her neck as she purports to be an apostle sent from God. I mean, we are literally living in a psyop right now, a psychological operation. We are being tested. Our limits. How much will we take? How far will we go? How much of this will we listen to? They must sit around board meetings, these individuals, and they must say things to themselves like, what do you think about, putting this woman up in front of a black screen, dressed all in black, with a "I've been vaxxed" necklace on, and have her declare that she's an apostle from God? Could you imagine if just 2 weeks ago on the God Freedom podcast, I had made up this scenario? If I had made up this very scenario, which I couldn't have, because I would have thought I was being crazy. I would have thought I was going too far. I would have thought that I was the propagandist at that point. If I had purported to make up this scenario of what we're watching right here, of this evil, sick, twisted witch telling us that she's an apostle from God and that we should be thankful for the vaccine and that we should take it, because if we don't love our neighbor. Let's go on.
All of you. Yes, I know you're vaccinated. You're the smart ones, but there's people out there who aren't listening to God and what God wants.
Oh, we got to stop there. I'm sorry, we're never going to get through this clip. But that's kind of what we do here on the God Freedom podcast, huh, Austin?
That's why we're in the weeds.
We get in the weeds and we don't get through the clips. What did she just call me, Austin? I'm not vaccinated. So what did she just call me?
I don't know what she called you. She called me one of the smart ones. That's what I heard.
Oh, you're killing me. On that note, I got to take a water break.
Yeah.
Come over here. I jab another needle in you.
Oh no. It's not allowed.
She just called me stupid, didn't she?
I mean, if you're not one of the smart ones, you got to be something else.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's only by necessarily implication, right?
Exactly.
She just called me stupid. I don't like that too much. I mean,
what?
I don't think my IQ scores anything to, brag about. I stopped being smart in probably 10th grade as far as my grades went. I wouldn't consider myself stupid though. I don't wear a necklace around my neck that says I've been vaccinated. I don't grab a microphone and dress all in black and stand in front of a black screen and declare that I'm an apostle from God. I don't do all that. Maybe if I did all that, I would be smart like her. Let's go on.
Yeah.
You know who they are.
Oh,
I need
yes.
you to be my apostles.
It's me.
I need you to go out and talk about it and say, we owe this to each other. We love each other. Jesus taught us to love one another.
She's invoking
How do you
Jesus.
show that love? But to care about each other enough to say, please get
Stop
back.
there. You know how you show that love, you sick, woke bastard, Kathy Hochul? Do you show that love with your abortion policies? Is that how Jesus shows his love? I mean, is this woman off of her meds? Who let her out? Who let her out of the psych ward? That's what I want to know. Because I think she's psychotic. I mean, listen to her voice, listen to her words, look at her actions, and believe what she says. Believe everything that comes out of her mouth. because they're not hiding it anymore. I'm referring to these angry, sick left individuals. They're not hiding it anymore. You no longer have to try to interpret what they mean by what they say. Just listen to what they say and believe what they say. It's Kathy Hochul's Democrat Party in New York State that just 2 short years ago eliminated the criminal statute that was in the penal code of New York State that made it a crime, a felony, of course, to abandon a baby that was born as the result of a botched abortion. Right? Makes sense. You're attempting to commit an abortion, and let's call it what it is. You're attempting to kill a viable fetus that just simply hasn't been born yet, and it's accidentally born, right? The doctor screwed up. Somebody screwed up, and the baby's born. Now the baby's born, and the law, if not your morality, which Kathy Hochul has neither, the law then dictated that the doctor had to perform medical treatment, save the life. It was born. Yes, you were trying to kill it, but it was born. And now you have to attempt to save the life. Otherwise, you could be charged with a felony, with a crime. And New York State eliminated that. Kathy Hochul's party, under her then governor, Cuomo. And they stood and they clapped in the chamber, in the legislative chamber in Albany. All the sick, twisted, woke leftists, they stood and they applauded at the passage of that legislation. And they did it in the name of women's reproductive rights, right? I mean, because that makes sense. It's got to be the right of a woman to reproduce. Contrast that with allowing a baby that is born and is alive and has a heartbeat and it's outside the womb. Contrast that with, let's just close the door and let it die because we're not going to get charged with a crime anymore. How in the hell is that a woman's reproductive right? As I always explain to you, whatever the left is telling you, it's the exact opposite. Reproductive rights mean to reproduce. Is it reproducing if you kill the baby? Is it reproducing if the baby is born to a botched abortion and then you allow it to die? And I'm going off on a tangent, I know, but I'm listening to this sick, twisted, and I can't say it enough, this sick, twisted bitch I'm listening to invoke the name of Jesus, telling me, because I'm stupid, because I'm not vaccinated, that Jesus wants me to get vaccinated, and that my neighbors who have been vaccinated, who believe in Jesus, should implore me to be vaccinated in the name of Jesus. As in the name of Jesus, she wants babies that are born to a botched abortion to be left to die. This woman should literally be rounded up and summarily executed. That's what should happen to her. She should be rounded up by the authorities and she should be summarily executed. She's evil. She's evil and she's saying it with her own words. Let's go on.
Because I love you. I want you to live. I want our kids to be safe when they're in schools. I want you to be safe when you go to a doctor's office or to a hospital.
Oh, stop there. I guess I should have saved that for the rant that I just gave. She wants the kids to be safe when they go to the doctor's office, just not the babies that are born. Just not those ones, right? Just not those ones. And once the baby, and you know, when the baby's in the birth canal and it's wholly viable and its heart's beating and it can live and it can cry and it can breathe, it can do all that stuff, but for the fact that it hasn't come completely through the birth canal yet, let's kill the thing. Right? Let's have laws on the books because we're so moral and we're so justified in the name of Jesus, but it's okay to kill that baby. But the moment that baby's born, The moment that baby's born and the baby is brought home by mom and dad, whose child it is, if they treat the baby contrary to anything that Kathy Hochul would want, she'll send CPS to arrest those parents. Spank the baby, arrest the parents. Yell at the baby, arrest the parents. Don't send that baby to our communist institutions that were formerly known as public education. Arrest those parents. But it's okay to kill the baby. It's okay to kill it if the government's doing it. But if the parents spank the baby, if the parents don't send the baby to the communist instructional camps at Fairport Central School District and Pittsford Central School District, then we're gonna charge those parents with neglect, educational neglect. We live in an upside down world, folks. You better start paying attention. There's many people that are paying attention. There's many people that are acting right now proactively for all of our freedoms. But there's just not enough. The percentage of people right now in America that are proactively standing up and fighting for all of the freedoms that the rest of you will benefit from is just not enough. Let's see if we can get through the rest of the video.
Treated by somebody, you don't want to get the virus from them. You're already sick or you wouldn't be there. We have to solve this, my friends. I need every one of you. I need you to let them know that this is how we can fight this pandemic, come back to normal, and then start talking about the real issues that we have to. Fighting systemic racial injustice, which exists today. And if there's a denier, I will take you on any day because I've seen it. I know it exists. And we are not going to have a blind eye to this ever again any longer under my.
Well, you know, I love that she has to get in the systemic racism, right? You can never get through a speech from a leftist, no matter what they're covering, no matter what it is that they're covering, they always have to get in the systemic racism or climate change. It's always one or the other or both. This time she goes with the systemic racism. So she's going COVID, vaccines, vaccines. Oh, systemic racism. Of course, systemic racism. And you know what? You've heard me say it before, whether it be on this show, whether it be on Kimberly's Revolution, whether it be on one of my classic Facebook rants that goes viral on my own Facebook page. You've heard me say it before. I agree and I believe that we have a concept in place in America that people like Kathy Hochul like to denominate as systemic racism. I believe that. I believe systemic racism exists. Absolutely 100%. And I can identify it. Welfare, the enforcement of anti gun laws, right? Let's just hit those two. Welfare. Who does welfare systemically impact the greatest to the worst detriment over the past 70 years? African Americans? Oh, okay. So the Democrats had African Americans actually enslaved on plantations throughout the 16, 17, and better part of 1800s. And now they have them enslaved on welfare. Really, it's really that simple, folks. Same party, different policy, same outcome. Same party, Democrats, different policies, slavery, welfare, same outcome. Same outcome. Poverty, dependence on the government. Period. End of story. Debate me. Go for it. What's your response? You have none. That's a fact. That's a fact. There is systemic racism in America. And we've had it since the beginning of time. And it's always been championed by the Democrat Party, by the progressive left, by people who want to use any means possible to control the power source in America and to wield that power against anyone that they can wield it against. Fact. That's a fact. What was the other? I said welfare. I lost my train of thought.
The gun laws, I think.
Oh, the gun laws. Yeah. You know, this is a tricky one. This is not something that's so obvious to people. And I know I have touched on this subject before. But, you know, people talk about the war on drugs. That the war on drugs, right? The Nancy Reagan war on drugs of the 80s. People love to utilize that and declare that to be a racist government policy. Okay, well, that's a debate for a different day. Okay, I have my thoughts on that too. We may or may not agree. But what do you think? You same people, you same progressive leftists that believe and have carried that banner of that the war on drugs was an attack on African Americans in the cities of the 80s and 90s. What do you think the gun laws are? I'd love to line the statistics up. I'm not going to pretend to take the time and spend the time doing the research, but I don't have to either. My eyes are wide open. I've been in this business for 20 years as an attorney, doing criminal defense work. I watch the news. I look around when I'm outside. I drive through the inner city. I pay attention to what's going on in the world. I don't just follow whatever I'm told to do. I actually pay attention, evaluate, and I respond accordingly. Does that mean that I'm always right? Of course not. Does that mean my perception is always accurate? Of course not. All of our perceptions are substantially based in our own life experiences. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending upon how you look at it, all of our life experiences are different. But I did grow up in the inner city. I did grow up off of Hudson Avenue on Ernst Street. I grew up in the very ghetto, in the very neighborhoods where the Democrats love to claim that they're there to help people, right? Okay, don't want to go back off on that tangent. Back to the gun laws. Who gets systematically targeted for gun arrests in America? African Americans. Young African American males, teenage boys driving around, walking around in the inner cities of Rochester and Detroit and Chicago and LA and Baltimore, Atlanta, walking around with firearms, loaded firearms. Now, do they commit crimes with those firearms in drastic proportions? Yes, no. To me, it doesn't matter. I guess the answer is probably yes, statistically speaking. But let's back up. What if they're not committing a crime? What if Joe Smith, 17-year-old African-American male, is walking down Hudson Avenue in Rochester, New York, with a loaded handgun in his waist, in his waistband, and he's not menacing anyone with that firearm? He's not threatening anyone with that firearm. He's not shooting anyone with that firearm. He's just walking down Hudson Avenue. Why? Because the Second Amendment says he has the right to? Because he's trying to protect himself, his person, and his property? Because he's been threatened almost daily walking through the ghetto that the Democrat Party has created over the past 70 years? Because the Democrat Party enslaved his family first in the 1600s, in the 1700s, in the 1800s, and then they enslaved his family on welfare throughout the 1900s and 2000s. So he was born into poverty. And now he has to go to an inner city school where the graduation rate is 22% and where there's drug dealers littering the streets. And he just wants to be able to walk it back and forth to the corner store or his school and be able to protect himself. But a police officer, and then of course the Democrat Party wants to defund the police. So that sends another signal to the gangbangers. Well, the police aren't going to be in this neighborhood anymore, because if they show up and they use a technique that they were trained on an individual, and then that individual dies because they're all hopped up on drugs, that cop's going to get fired, Daniel Prude case, and they're going to burn the city down, Daniel Prude case. That's another signal to that teenager to carry his own firearm, because the police can't protect him. So the police can't protect him. He's not allowed to protect his own life, and the laws won't protect him. Because if he gets pulled over by a police officer or stopped by a police officer, and he's carrying that firearm in his waistband loaded for protection under the Second Amendment of the United States of America, guess what happens? Felony arrest. Felony prosecution, no plea deal, go straight to jail, do not collect $200, do not pass go. Period. End of story. Monroe County District Attorney's Office will prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. And his attorney will do nothing for him but say, what do you think about this plea deal? What do you think about doing a year in local time instead of doing 2.5 to 4 state time? Instead of arguing that you have a Second Amendment right to carry that firearm. So, what party again is it that discriminates against African Americans? What party is it again that systematically acts out its racist ideals on African Americans? I don't think I have to answer that for you. I think you know the answer now. Did we get through that video, Austin?
We did.
That's good.
Yeah.
We're making progress here.
Oh my gosh.
On the God Freedom Podcast, aren't we? We've gotten through 2 videos tonight.
That's just crazy.
I mean, it's probably like, what, 8 o'clock? What time is it?
Almost 5.
Almost 5?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. We got to go soon.
Yeah, I tell you.
What else do we want to talk about here?
You did send me, I think it's a meme.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. See, I'm so lousy at this. I was supposed to interject this into the Kathy Hochul video. So, I did a little research. Here, scroll down real quick. Don't give away the punchline yet. I did a little research today on the church that Kathy Hochul was speaking at, and I don't even remember the name of the church now, but it was some alleged Christian church. I found their website down in the Bronx or in Queens. They have a nice website, I'm sure, with lots of progressive government donations that they get, and they probably don't get targeted by the IRS like conservative Christian groups do. But in any event, I digress. But here's their statement of faith. It's on their website. And, I find it very interesting because, as I've explained to people before, I do have more Catholic education than the Pope. I do have 21 years of Catholic education. But, that's neither here nor there right now. Their statement of faith is very similar to the Apostles' Creed, or we also have the Nicene Creed. But this is very similar, if not almost identical, to the Apostles' Creed that we Catholics recite in church. We believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, of all that is seen and unseen, so on and so forth. And then let's scroll down. And then we get to keep going. We get down near the end here. He will come again in glory to judge the living and the dead, and his kingdom will have no end. We believe in the Holy Spirit, the Lord, the giver of life, who proceeds from the Father and the Son. With the Father and the Son, he is worshiped and glorified. He has spoken through Kathy Hochul. Oh, that's right. I forgot. The Apostles' Creed, our faith declares, or it mandates, as the Democrats, that's their favorite thing to do, is to mandate things. Our creed, our Christian creed, states that God has spoken through not the Holy Spirit, but Kathy Hochul. That's what it says. I got that right off their website.
Yeah, I believe.
Do you believe that?
100%.
I mean, it's obvious.
Obviously.
Just look at it. I mean, how genuine that looks.
I mean, the font.
Everything matches, right?
It's incredible.
I mean, there's like a little The paper got a little discolored there, I guess, but
Yeah, right. Someone said their coffee on it.
oh God. If we didn't actually watch that video and listen to Kathy Hochul herself with her own words declare herself to be the apostle of God, then this actually would be funny. That this concoction that I made up here would be funny. But it's the truth. She said it. She believes it, so it must be true.
Oh, it's alarming for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we are running out of time. How much time do we have left, Austin? By the way, you're phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
Let me blow some smoke up your ass here if I can.
Perfect. That's
you like cigar smoke? Do you like marijuana smoke?
Well,
what kind of smoke? Menthols?
Menthol
cigarettes?
Using those Tom cigars, it smells like that smoke's already been blown through an ass.
Yeah, well, we did have. That's right. We had a wonderful party here last Friday night, didn't we, Austin?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, we celebrated the 1-year anniversary of the We the People podcast network here. And we had an awesome get together. Probably around 50 of our most loyal fans showed up. 47 of those were our moms and dads, but that's okay. The other 3 people that showed up are very loyal fans. No, I'm just kidding. We had an awesome turnout of loyal fans, and we really, truly thank you for that. And, while I do blow smoke up Boston's ass, I'm not blowing smoke up our fans' ass. I appreciate, I know Tom Morgan and Kimberly from Kimberly's Revolution appreciate it. I know Marcus Williams and Jose Pio, who are on our network, I know they appreciate it. We appreciate all your wonderful support out there, all of you that watch and listen. So just quickly, the other main topic that I wanted to get to was the illegal border crossings. That's just another lengthy rabbit hole to get into, but suffice it to say this. I just want to leave you with this thought, and you can kind of, connect all the dots from there. But if you, and this is literal, right? This isn't talk speak right now. You can literally come across the U.S. Mexican border right now as we speak. We saw it play out on live TV over the past couple weeks. You can literally walk across or swim across the U.S. Mexican border with little, if any, repercussion whatsoever. No proof of vaccination, no COVID test, no nothing. Just come on in, right? Come on in. America's a free place. It's a beautiful thing. Look how liberal we are here. Look how progressive we are here. We don't believe in archaic things like borders. We don't believe in crazy, stupid principles like laws and constitutions, right? We're progressive. We're open. We're liberal. Come on in. Everything's fine and good. And you know what? Once you get here legally, you can't even call it illegal anymore. How is it illegal if it's legal? So is it, I guess I'm wrong. I have to back up. I called it at the opening of the show, Awesome. I called it illegal border crossings. I think we have to correct the record here. There is no such thing as an illegal border crossing. Again, unless you go to the Canadian border and you try to, actually spend money and abide by things like law and order and engage in capitalistic type of behavior and things like that. That's illegal to try to cross the Canadian border without a passport, et cetera, et cetera. But go to the Mexican border. There's no such thing as an illegal border crossing because it's all legal to do. You just come on over. And then once you legally get here, hold on, little camera glitch. They're trying to kick us off. It's getting late. Then once you get here, you get all the benefits of this free progressive society that we live in, apparently. You get Department of Social Services, welfare, you get free food, you get free doctors, you get free schooling, you get free well checkups, you get whatever you want, right? Go find Catholic Family Services and they'll get you, they're the agent for the government now, right? Catholic Family Centers is now they're like the travel agent for the federal government now. Okay, you go find them and they'll show you some beautiful pictures of these beautiful houses down on Joseph Avenue in the city of Rochester that have no windows. but the plywood's really nice. It covers up the holes where the windows used to be. They'll show you these beautiful color photos of all of these beautiful neighborhoods that they're going to transplant you into, and all that good stuff. So you come over here and you get all that beautiful things for free. But then, if you're a nurse or you're a teacher, and you were born in this country, and you've paid taxes all of your life, and you're gainfully employed, and you're raising a family, and you choose freely of your own will and your own conscience not to be vaccinated by the unapproved emergency use only vaccines, and make no mistake, all three of them that are being distributed right now are unapproved by the FDA. If you're one of those people, you'll be fired from your job at the mandate of the evil bitch, Kathy Hochul, right? So Kathy Hochul would go down to the Rio Grande and she'd stick her hand in the river and pull you out, unmasked, unvaccinated, welcome you to the country, and direct you to Catholic family centers, Catholic charities, and tell you how to get everything for free. And you'll earn a living, and you'll be provided everything you need to survive by the federal government. But if you live here now and you're a citizen and you don't want to be vaccinated, you're fired, and you don't get any unemployment. Just fired. That's it. No benefits from the government. Figure out a way to feed your family. And there you have it. Welcome to New America. That's where we're at. New America. All right. On that note, on that sour puss note, we are going to conclude our podcast here tonight. Again, this is Chad Hummel. This is the God Freedom Podcast. I thank you so much for joining us. Again, please go to our Facebook fan page at the We the People Podcast Network, or on YouTube at We the People Podcast Network, and click like and subscribe and become a member. That way you'll get all the notifications of all of our wonderful podcasts. And of course, you can always go back and watch the podcast later. We thank you again. I thank Austin, my producer, for helping me out here this evening. And go America.